Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Guru Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate. Okay. So last time we talked about the 5 koshas or the 5 sheaths. And we understood that Atman is something that is beyond the 5 sheaths. Now, just a worldly example to help us understand the 5 sheaths. Let us say we have this hand. So this hand is Annamaya kosha, the food sheath. The power to lift the hand is Pranamaya kosha. But we can't just lift the hand without the desire to lift the hand. So the desire to lift the hand is the Manomaya kosha, or the mental sheath. Now, who is desiring to lift that? Right? We cannot be the desires because there's so many desires to lift the hand up, to put the hand down, to put the hand high, to put the hand low. So who is desiring to lift the hand? That is the doer. That is in the Vijnanamaya kosha. And finally, where does the doer merge into? The Anandamaya kosha, or the bliss sheath, in the state of deep sleep, or in the state of Priya, Muda, and Pramuda. So I am not this hand. I am not the power to lift the hand. I'm not the desire to lift the hand. I'm not the doer of that desire to lift the hand. And I'm not the, even that doer merges into the bliss sheath. I'm not even that, those vasanas, or where that bliss or that doer merges into. I'm not that. So I'm not any of these sheaths. So now let's look at the not self. I'm just going to share this with you so we can be very clear, and then we will move on to Atman today. So we have here Sharira. Sharira means the bodies. Kosha means the sheaths. Avastha, the states. So here, I'll translate in English, but you can see the Sanskrit. The gross body is really the food sheath, right? And this is very much, we are very much identified with this in the waking state. So this is the first part of the not self. The subtle body here is with the 3 sheaths: Pranamaya, the vital air sheath, the mental sheath, and the intellectual sheath. And we are identified with this in the dream state. Now I put an asterisk on Pranamaya, or the vital air sheath, because it's there in all 3 states. Then the causal body is juxtaposed with Anandamaya kosha. But remember, I told you Anandamaya kosha is something that it's experienced not only in deep sleep, but also in waking, in Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. So identified with this causal body and with this bliss sheath, we are the deep sleeper. So here now, this is the not self. What is the not self? The gross body, the subtle body, the causal body. That's the not self. What is the not self? The 5 sheaths: the food sheath, vital air sheath, mental sheath, intellectual sheath, and bliss sheath. And what is the not self? The not self is also the waker, the dreamer, and the deep sleeper. So all of these things are the not self. The 3 bodies are the not self, the 5 sheaths are the not self, and the one who identifies with the 3 states, that is also the not self. So what is Atman then? So now Atman is defined as, now I'm in Tattva Bodha, we're going to the nature of Atman. This is my page 75. Atma tarhi kaha. So what is this Atman? Satchidananda Swarupaha, the nature of Sat, Chit, Ananda. So finally, we've negated everything, and the student is wondering, is there anything left? Is there anything remaining? And is it just nothingness? And the teacher says, no, it is very much there. It is a fullness, it's a completeness, a wholeness. This Sat, Chit, Ananda. Now, what is Sat? So first we'll come to Sat. Sat kim? What is Sat? Kalatraye api tishtati iti Sat. That which is changeless in 3 periods of time. Kalatraye api. So even in 3 periods of time, tishtati, it remains as it is. That is called existence or Sat. So Sat, existence. What are these 3 periods of time? Can be past, present, future, and it can also be waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. So the first thing that we have to understand by existence, we're talking about pure existence, is that it's changeless. It's a changeless presence. So now, you just think about your life. In your life, what is the changeless presence there? The body is changing. Obviously, we've undergone many changes. The body, the mind is changing. The intellect, our different ideals and judgments are changing. Our individuality is changing. How we were a few years ago is very, very different from how we are now. So through all of these changes, what remains? That which remains changeless, that is called existence. Existence. So that changeless presence amidst all changes that are happening, the body level, mind, intellect, ego, personality, all of that, the changeless presence amidst all of that is Sat. Now, what else about this Sat? This Sat is a presence which is non-negatable. So this is point number 2. So we saw in the 3 states that the waker gets negated in the dream state. So in the dream state, there's no more waker personality. Then the dreamer gets negated in the deep sleep state. So no more dreamer. And the deep sleeper gets negated in the waking state. So if we just look at regular science, they look at just the waking state. But life is not just the waking state. It's these 3 states. So that which does not get negated in any other state, that is Sat. That is pure existence, changeless presence. So it cannot be the waker me. That cannot be reality, because in the dream state, this whole waking personality is no more. This whole Shubhani is no more there in the dream state, nor is it there in the deep sleep state. So this cannot be me because it's negatable. So when we're talking about pure existence, it's something that's non-negatable. Now, point number 3, this pure existence is independent. It doesn't depend on anything. So just think, just think about your life. I can exist without my profession, right? We can exist without our profession. We can exist without our family and relationships. We can exist without this body and other states, definitely. We can exist without the mind, definitely, in other states. We can exist without this individuality or ego. Yes, we can in deep sleep. We can even exist without the world. We can even exist without time and space. And that independent existence that exists without time, without space, without even the world, that is called Sat. That is pure existence. So it is changeless, it's non-negatable, and it's independent. And what I'm saying is not strange. It's in your daily experience. Vedanta, all Vedanta does is says, look at your everyday experience with a very, very keen eye, and one will realize the self in an instance. Now, here, this existence, we call it reality. Why? Because existence is intrinsic to it. It's always there. We call this existence reality because something real is always there. It's always there. When somebody keeps lying, we say they're fake, they're not real, don't trust him or her, they don't know what they're saying, right? When somebody is consistent, when somebody is always there, then we say, oh, this person is true, this person is real. So we call this existence reality because it is always there. We call this body, this mind, this intellect, unreality. Why do we call it unreality? Because it has borrowed existence. What do you mean it has borrowed existence? See, right now the body exists, correct? We can see exists. But I'm talking about this gross body that you see here, it exists. But in dream state, it does not exist anymore. And then in deep sleep state, it doesn't exist. And then again in waking, it exists. So it exists, and then it doesn't exist, and then it exists. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that existence is not intrinsic to the body. Existence is not the nature of the body because it exists and then it doesn't exist. And then it exists again. So existence is not the body's nature. It's borrowing existence from pure existence or Sat. In the same way, the mind is also borrowing existence because now it's existing. But in deep sleep, it's not existing. And then again, when we wake up, it's existing. So existence is not intrinsic to it. It's borrowing it. So because something borrows existence, it is called unreal. And that which is independently existing, that is called real. So this existence is actually reality. And that is you. Everything else is borrowing existence. Now you think of the world, right? For us, our experience of the world is there. And then in deep sleep, it's not there. And then again, it's there. It's there in waking. So it's also borrowing existence. So this borrowed existence is unreality, or what we call mithya, or illusion, illusory. So this is not Sat, right? Sat is reality. Now, the question comes that if I am this changeless presence, now is there many different changeless presences, right? Is it that I am Sat and you are Sat and everybody else is Sat? Is that there are so many realities? The answer is no, because in that pure existence, there are no differences. And this becomes very evident in Panchadashi chapter 2, which we studied. There are 3 differences that we see. They're called Swagata Bheda, Sajatiya Bheda, Vijatiya Bheda. And I'll translate. Swagata Bheda means difference in parts. So like a tree, you take a tree, there's a tree trunk, there's a tree root, there's a tree branches, there's the leaves, etc. So it has differences in parts. Then we have Sajatiya Bheda, means differences in species. So like there's an apple tree, there's an orange tree, there's a mango tree. And then we have Vijatiya Bheda, which means difference from this species to another species. So these are trees, and then these are animals, like that. Now, when we take pure existence, can existence really have parts? So some people might say, all these names and forms, aren't they parts of existence? Right? There's this existence. Existence is this substratum. We say existence is the substratum of the world. There are all these names and forms. So aren't they parts of existence? The answer is no, because the names and forms are nothing but existence. So just like the water, right? Let's just take, for example, water. Water is pure existence. And you say the waves are a part of water. Can we really say the waves are a part of water? No, because wave is actually just water. If somebody asks you, show me the wave without the water, it's impossible, right? So the wave is the water. So in the same way, it's not that I have Shubhani existence, and then you have Viniji existence, you have Oscar existence. It's not like that, because this body, this mind, this intellect is nothing but existence. It's nothing but existence. It cannot exist without existence. It has, as I explained, borrowed existence. So therefore, in its intrinsic nature, it is existence alone. So when we say Sat, it is this changeless presence which is independently existing, which is reality, which is the substratum of all the names and forms, which is an unbroken existence, which is reality or truth. That is what we call Sat. So here, now, how do we understand this? Now, think about these words, right? If we want to internalize this, meditate on this. I am existence in all 3 periods, even before time. I exist independent of everyone else and everything else. You are there. And all things cannot exist without me. Without me, the substratum. And I am the substratum of all names and forms. So in this way, this is what we call existence or Sat. So here there's a question. In the realm of Maya, the individual jiva is not part of totality. So if you take the jiva, the essence of the jiva is Brahman, right? Now, all the conditionings of the jiva, that is definitely part of Maya. That is part of Maya, okay? So now we come to existence. You are existence. That's the first thing that he's asking us to understand and grasp here. Now he says, come to consciousness, Chit. Chit kim? Jnana Swarupaha. So Chit is consciousness, is of the nature of knowledge. So before we come to that, one solid realization here, right? When we talk of Sat or Chit or Ananda, please note that it's existence, not existence of It's consciousness, not conscious of. And it's bliss, not bliss of. Okay. Now, what is this pure consciousness? What is this? Now, these are all indicators of Atman. And Sat, existence, is consciousness, is bliss. They're actually all one and the same, but they're all trying to point at different things, right? When we say existence, somebody might say, is this existence inert? Is it an inert thing? So to remove that, we come to Chit. This existence is self-aware. It's awareness itself. So, for example, you are there. You are in this room. Let's say you are in a dark room and there's keys and books and everything there. And somebody asks you, where are the keys? So you have to turn on the light and then you find the keys and you say, here are the keys. But in this dark room, if somebody asks you, are you there? Do you need anything? No. It's very, very clear that you are there, right? So this existence is awareness. We are very much aware of our existence. It's awareness that we are aware. So existence is awareness. Now, when we say awareness or consciousness, what is that consciousness? So there is a very beautiful shloka. It's called Eka Shloki. I will chant it, then I will explain it, and we'll understand what that Chit actually is. It goes like this. Kim jyotistava bhanumanahani me ratrau pradipadikam Syadevam ravidipadarshana vidhau Kim jyotirakyahi me chakshustasya nimilanadi samaye Kim dhirdhyo darshane Kim tatrahamato bhavan paramakam jyotistadasmi Prabhu. So the teacher asks the student, Kim Jyoti, what is that light by which you see? Kim Jyoti Tava. And the student says, Bhanuman, I see by the light of the sun, Ahanime. The daytime, I see by the light of the sun. And the teacher says, Ratro, in the night, Pradipadikam. I see by lamps and such things. I see by that. And the teacher says, Syadevam, Ravidipa Darshana Vidho, Kim Jyotihi. But by what do you see? How do you see the sun and these lights at night? And then he says, the student says, by my eyes. And the teacher says, okay, your eyes, but chakshus tasya nimilanadi samaye. When you close your eyes, then how do you see? And the student says, by my mind. I see by my mind. Because when you close your eyes, you can still see your thoughts by your mind. And then the teacher says, but how do you see your mind? How are you aware of your thoughts? And then the student says, that is me, I, the self. I am aware of my mind. And I am the ultimate light. I am the ultimate Jyoti. So when we say Chit, we are referring to this ultimate light of consciousness or ultimate consciousness. That consciousness which illumines the mind. And that mind then illumines the senses, and the senses then illumines the sense objects of the world. So that awareness, consciousness by which I illumine the world, that is called Chit. That is called Chit. So if you go from the other side, right? If you take the objects objects cannot know themselves, right? They cannot know themselves and they cannot know anything else. So they need to be illumined by the sense organs. So the sense organs, they illumine objects, but they cannot know themselves, and they need to be illumined by something else, which is the mind. When you take the mind illumines the sense organs, but it cannot illumine itself. And it needs something to illuminate. And then you have pure consciousness, which illumines the mind, and it is self-luminous. It illumines itself, and it doesn't need anything else to illuminate it. That is called Cit. So that, and in the very direct experience of this Cit is we are aware of our thoughts. What is that which is aware of our thoughts? That is called Cit. Now here, we have to be careful to distinguish Cit, or what we call consciousness, from the ego. Because what happens is both of them are there together. Both of them are there together. It's not like you can physically separate them. But how to track out what is pure consciousness and what is the ego? Because this is where we fall short. So I'm going to give you some differences to understand. Now that we understand, we know what Cit is, the nature of consciousness. First, now, look at how we experience the world. Any experience of the world, we have a triad, what we call Triputi in Sanskrit. So we have the knower, the known, and the process of knowing. So like, let's say I am the knower, and this is a bottle, this is the known object, and I know the bottle, right? So we have maybe, this is a phone, I am the knower, and I know the phone, right? So knower, known, and knowing. So the process of knower, known, and knowing. This is how we experience anything. So I become the seer. I'm seeing the computer. So the computer is seen, and the process is seeing. This is our experience. Now the ego is within this triad. So you see the ego becomes the knower at one point. Then the ego becomes the seer at one point. When I'm closing my eyes, the ego becomes the meditator at one point. And when I'm listening to somebody, the ego becomes the listener. Or when I'm speaking, the ego becomes the speaker. So the ego is in this triad, and it keeps changing. From I'm the thinker, I'm the speaker, I'm the knower, I'm the seer, and there's always objects that I'm experiencing. Now, pure consciousness illumines this triad. So pure consciousness is out of this triad. It's that which illumines this triad. So this triad is going on, and pure consciousness is apart from it, illuminating it. So one is out of the triad, one is very much in the triad. And because pure consciousness is out of the triad, it's changeless. It's changeless. It doesn't change, right? Its existence, consciousness, it doesn't change. It illumines without changing. But here, the ego keeps changing from knower to doer to seer to hearer to smeller. It keeps changing. And the famous example we give is that electricity, right? So we saw this in chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. That's that there's that one electricity, and you plug it into the AC, and it's a cooler. You plug it into the heat, it's a heater. You plug it into the computer, it's a processor. So like that one consciousness, the ego illumined by it becomes the seer, hearer, smeller, taster, etc. And that consciousness is changeless. The ego is changing. What else is that the consciousness is the same in all three states of experience. We've seen this, right? that same awareness, what we call avasthatraya sakshi, that same witness is there in all three states, changeless presence. But this ego comes and goes. Waking state, it is very much there. Then partial in dream, and then it retires. So this ego has an arrival and departure in the state. And this ego also has an arrival and departure in between thoughts, right? So when thoughts arise, the ego is very much there. But when the thoughts dissolve, the ego is not there. So it's as though the ego is rising and falling in this vast ocean of consciousness. So where the ego rises from and where the ego sets, that's called pure consciousness. So therefore, that they're different. They're quite different. And the illumination of pure consciousness is very effortless. Like we say the sun, yasya sannidhi matre. In its presence, everything shines. So in the presence of consciousness, everything is illumined. No effort, effortless illumination. But the ego, so much effort. After thinking and thinking for so long, I'm so tired of thinking, right? The ego, after doing and doing so much, are tired because there's doing. So in the ego, there's this tiredness, there's this exhaustion because we put effort, we use our effort. But in the illumination of consciousness, it is effortless. It's effortless. And that consciousness is what we call the thoughtless I. It cannot be spoken of. It cannot be thought of. It is just pure awareness. It's a thoughtless I. It's a non-verbalized I. But the minute we say I, that is the ego. So even I am Brahman, that is the ego saying I am Brahman. So anytime it's voiced out, it's definitely the ego. Anytime it's thought out, it's definitely the ego. But that thoughtless I is pure awareness. And that thoughtless I doesn't need instruments to illuminate it. So for example, I don't need anything to know that I am. It's a direct and immediate experience. But the ego has to know through the mind and through the senses. If the ego has to know this bottle, it has to sort of go through, pervade this bottle, have a thought that this is a bottle, and then only it knows that this is a bottle. I know that this is a bottle. But when we're talking about pure consciousness, it's an immediate awareness. It's an immediate illumination. It doesn't come through the mind it doesn't need the mind rather, or the senses. It just is. So this one should do this viveka. The viveka, this discernment between what is consciousness and what is the ego. And Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi Ji says something so beautiful. He says that all we have to really do is track out, keep inquiring into that ego. And when we keep questioning the ego, it just disappears. And we just remain as we are. Now, how do we become, I guess, how is this evident? Sometimes people will ask, how is Chit or consciousness evident in our lives? So first, Sat or existence is evident because we are changeless. That's a direct experience. It's direct experience. So nobody has to go anywhere else or read a book to know that you're changeless. You pretty much know you're changeless present. It's very direct. But how do we track out this Chit or consciousness? Now see here. This consciousness is there in every single thought. We saw this in Kenopanishad. Tattva Bodha viditam matam. In every single thought, there is pure awareness. Pure awareness illumines every single thought. So it is there in and through every single thought. But pure consciousness becomes very evident in the gap between the thoughts. There it becomes so evident, because when the thoughts come and they go, there's a gap. And when there's a gap, there's no ego there. There's no ego. There's just pure awareness. So when the thoughts come and go, when there's a gap between the thoughts, and I'm not talking about silence, because silence is also an object. I'm talking about no thought. When there's a gap between the thoughts, awareness is evident. Similarly, when there are no thoughts at all, like in samadhi, awareness is evident. Or like in deep sleep, awareness is evident, but we are overpowered by tamas, so we are not aware of it. So in these spots, this awareness is evident in our lives. It is that background awareness in and through all the thoughts, in the gaps between the thoughts, when there are no thoughts. It is that pure awareness that is called Cit. So now how do I, let's say if I want to think about this or contemplate about this, then how do I put this? I am pure consciousness. I am the subject, and everything is an object of my experience. I illumine this entire world of names and forms. And therefore, because I am the seer, the ultimate seer, and this whole world is seen, then I am never affected by it. This is the beauty of Cit. Beauty of Cit. When one realizes that they're pure consciousness, then we never get affected by the world, because we are just illumining the world, right? We're just illumining the world. Like the screen. The screen is the substratum upon which the movie plays. So I am just the screen upon which the entire movie is playing. So just as the screen is unaffected by the movie, I also am unaffected by this world of names and forms. Now, bring the same thought process. Is it that everybody has their little consciousness inside? No. Remember, if we're talking about one unbroken existence, we're also talking about one unbroken consciousness. Why is that? So now you have to remember the example of space. There's only one space, but in an entire apartment, we say this is room space, this is kitchen space, this is hall space, this is living room space, but it's one space. And in and through the walls, it is just space. The walls cannot cut space, cannot break space. In and through the walls, it's space. So in and through the dining room walls is space. In and through the bedroom walls is space. In and through the kitchen is space. Is actually one unified space. Because I put something there, I say this is dining hall space, this is bedroom space, this is kitchen space. In the same way, it is just one consciousness, unbroken consciousness. But because I have this body and this mind, this appearance of this body and mind, I feel like this is my consciousness and that's your consciousness. But just like the walls are nothing but space, this body and mind is nothing but consciousness. Why is it nothing but consciousness? Again, bring your mind back to this point, because without consciousness, it's not there, it doesn't exist. Remember, the body and mind, the ego, they're borrowing existence. They're just borrowing existence. Without existence, they cannot exist. So therefore, if A cannot exist without B, then A is B. If this body cannot exist without existence consciousness, then it is consciousness. If this mind cannot exist without consciousness, then it is consciousness. If A cannot exist without B, it is B. It is B. So this is just pure consciousness. In fact, if you really think deeply, nothing exists outside of awareness. Have you ever had an experience outside of awareness? No. Nobody's had it, right? Therefore, everything is awareness. This jump it's a little bit of a jump, but if we contemplate on it deeply, then we will understand truly. So this unbroken Sat existence is also awareness. So this unbroken existence is awareness, is Chit. And now it is also Ananda. Ananda. So what is Ananda? Ananda kaha, Sukha Swarupaha. What is bliss? It is of the nature of absolute happiness. Now this word Ananda comes to tell us that this consciousness and existence is unlimited. Actually, in the Upanishads, it is Anantam, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. So this Ananda tells us that it's infinite. This existence, this consciousness is infinite. It is beyond the mind. And that is why it is bliss. So in the Chandogya Upanishad, there's this very beautiful chapter on Bhuma, on the infinite. And it is describing what infinity is. And it says that Yo ve Bhuma tat sukham, that where there's infinity, that alone is bliss. That where there's infinity, that alone is bliss. That where there's no otherness, that alone is bliss. That alone is bliss. So when we say Ananda Swarupa, it is our nature of infinitude and non-duality that we are actually talking about. Now, to understand this clearly, first let us see the difference between the two Anandas. Okay, then we'll understand this. Then we will also inquire as to how our nature is bliss. So first, let's see the difference. Last time we saw Anandamaya Kosha, bliss tree. So now let us take bliss, our nature as bliss, and let us take bliss sheath. Let us do the division here. When we talk about bliss per se, our nature as bliss, it means that bliss where there is no otherness. There is no otherness. What do you mean it's the bliss of no otherness? It's our nature where there is no otherness. You see, now take the example of the movie and screen. The screen is the substratum, the movie is playing on it. Once I understand that I am existence, I am consciousness, not my own personal existence and own personal consciousness. That's not Advaita. That I am this pure existence and pure consciousness, unlimited, then what happens? Everything is an appearance on me. All these names and forms are an appearance on me. Therefore, there's nothing other than me. There's nothing other than me, pure consciousness existence, because everything is appearing in me. Everything is appearing in me, so there's no other than me. So this Ananda is to say that there is nothing other than you. There's nothing other than you. Because whenever there is something other than us, what happens is we feel sad. We feel sad, we feel limited. So we always feel limited. When I have only this much space, I want to expand. I want more space, more space. When I have this much time, I only have 20 minutes. I feel like I need more time. I need more time. I need more time. When I only have this much capacity in my mind, I need more capacity. I need more. I need more. Whenever I have some, like whenever I feel limited, I feel very, very sad. I feel very, very sad. But when I'm unlimited, I feel very happy. And that's why we like unlimited talk text plan, unlimited Wi-Fi, unlimited stay. You can stay however long you want. Because whenever it's unlimited, we feel very happy. No limits, there's nothing else. There's nothing to box me. There's nothing to limit me. We feel so good. But whenever there's something to box us, we feel so stressed. You can only do this from 5 to 6. You can only do this from this point to that point. You can only work here for 1 year. Oh, we feel so stressed. So this is not the kind of Ananda where there is nothing else. And because there is nothing else to limit us. And because there's nothing else to limit us, we are unlimitedly relaxed. Nobody can harp on us. So this Ananda, which is our nature, is where there's no otherness. It is unlimited. But the Ananda that we experience, there is the seeds of otherness in the Anandamaya kosha. There's the seeds of otherness. Even in deep sleep, if you say there's no otherness in deep sleep, but there's the seed of otherness, because when we wake up, again, we feel like there's something other than me. This, again, Ananda in our true nature is independent. It's independent. We do not have to do anything. It doesn't depend on anything or anyone. It is our own nature. This is what we're talking about. The Anandamaya kosha, or the happiness in the world, is dependent. If he says this to me, then I will be happy. If she does this for me, then I will be happy. If I get this apartment, then I will be very happy. If I get to go on vacation, I will be satisfied. This is the kind of happiness we feel in the world. That is not our nature. Our nature is independent. Whether or not it happens, fine. It doesn't matter, because I'm already whole. Everything is already me. And of course, this kind of happiness is permanent. The kind of happiness in the Anandamaya kosha is very impermanent. It comes and it goes, comes and it goes. And it also has gradation. Sometimes I feel this happy, but sometimes I feel really this happy. Sometimes I feel this much happy. So if I get let's say if I get my favorite bar of chocolate, I'll be like this happy. But if I get to go on a nice trip, I'll be this happy. But let's say I get, the job that I want, then I'll be this happy. So our happiness has like these gradations, that this happy or that much happy. But our bliss doesn't. It's infinite. It's permanent. There's no such gradation. We also feel in the worldly happiness, that, I'm happy, but she's happier than me, or he's happier than me. So I feel sad because I was happy, but if I find out that she's happier than me, I feel sad. That means I'm missing something, right? It's Anandamaya. Kosha is like that. But our nature as Ananda it's infinite, is infinite. And this is also beyond the mind. Again, this Ananda that we're talking about is beyond the mind. So it's beyond joy and sorrow. Because to have joy, it will also end in sorrow. And when we have sorrow, it will come to joy. It will again end in sorrow. So this Ananda that we're talking about is beyond joy and sorrow. But this Anandamaya, this bliss in the world, this worldly happiness, it has the seeds of sorrow. It has the seeds of sorrow, because after I experience joy in the world, what happens? I want more. I want more of it. So it has the seed of desire. I want more of it. And then again, I want more of it. And then I want more of it. This bliss of our real nature, there's no more wanting. It's very much whole and complete. And because this bliss is our nature, it's absolutely effortless. You don't have to work for it. It's effortless. Whereas to experience bliss in the world is very difficult. You have to work so much for it. Huh? Just to get a day off, how much people have to work to get few days off, right? So this Ananda in us, it's effortless. So in this way, when we talk about existence, we talk about consciousness, we talk about bliss, it's this independent, whole, effortless, non-dual bliss where there's no otherness, there's nothing other than it. Now the question comes, but how are we happiness? I hear this all the time, but how are we happiness? So here now we have to remember Puja Gurudev Swami Tejomayananda Ji's self-unfoldment, right? So we think that happiness is an object. We think happiness is an object. It's in an experience. It's in things, in beings, in places. But if it was really in the object, then that object would make everybody happy, right? But in one house, let us say the child loves rock music. It makes him happy. But maybe it makes his mother really sad. She doesn't want to listen to it, right? And if she likes, let's say, classical music, that makes her happy. Maybe it might make him really sad. Like, that's not what he likes. So if the things or objects in the world really had happiness, then everybody should be able to get happiness from there. For some people, chocolate can give them happiness. For some people, utter sadness. For some people, peanuts can give them happiness. For some people, utter sadness. So the happiness is not there in the object because not everybody is getting happiness from there. And at the same time, what makes us happy at one time makes us also sad another time. So maybe when we were younger, we loved loud noise, loud music, populated places. But now when we're older, if you take us to the same place, we're utterly sad. Huh? So the happiness is not there in that object. And furthermore, if it was really there, the more of it that we would have, the happier we would become. So if a laddu, a sweet, makes us happy, then that means 10 laddus would make us so happy, but they make us sick. So the happiness doesn't lie in these objects. Happiness doesn't even lie in people. We think that that person makes us happy, but that same person makes somebody else really sad. And that same person who used to make us so happy years later makes us so utterly sad. So happiness doesn't lie in the thing. It doesn't lie in the person. It doesn't even lie in the place. I used to like this place, but now, oh, it's just totally different. So where does happiness lie? If it is not in any object, if it is not in any being, not in any place, then where does it have to be? It has to be in the subject. It's not in any object, it has to be in the subject. And what is happening? Why am I feeling happy? Why do I feel that feeling of happiness? Very simple. When we get the object that we desire, the mind becomes quiet. And when the mind becomes quiet, the bliss of the self, the bliss of the Atman shines forth in that quiet mind. That's what's happening. So it's not the object that is making you feel happy. It is the quietening of the mind. And in that quiet mind, the bliss of the Atman shines forth. How do we know? Because in deep sleep, the mind is very quiet and we are perfectly happy. There's no object. So we are perfectly happy without any object in deep sleep, which means the happiness is not in the objects or people or experiences. So anytime we want to feel happy at the mind level, what do? Just make the mind quiet. That's it. We don't have to do that much. It's free. To make the mind quiet, and the bliss of the Atman will shine forth. So where is the bliss coming from? The Atman. Bliss is not in any object, it is in the subject. That bliss is Ananda. It's our own nature. It is permanently there, but it expresses when the mind is quiet. It is changeless. It is independent. It is beyond the mind, joy and sorrow. It is who we are. That is the Ananda of it. Another example how we are Ananda. This mimamsa means this kind of inquiry, is done in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi. I'll just, tell you a summary of what it is. Basically, Yajnavalkya, he wants to take sannyas. He wants to take sannyas and he wants to leave. So his wife tells him, what are you going to seek? What are you seeking there? And he says, let me tell you, the most important thing to know ever is this Atman. That is what I am going to abide in. That is what I'm going to rest in. And he begins to tell her that actually nobody loves anybody for their sake. Meaning, a husband doesn't love his wife for his wife's sake. A husband loves his wife for his own sake. A wife doesn't love her husband for her husband's sake, but for her own sake. Means, he says that we love everybody for our own sake. We don't love people because they're wonderful and special. We love people because they make us happy. And the happier they make us, the more we love them. So we don't love them for their own sake. We love them because they give us happiness. So anything that we love, it's because it gives us happiness. So that's the first point. And this is a very, very great analysis. If you think about it, it's very true. We love our children because they give us happiness. We love our families because they give us happiness. So what is the second point now? We love everybody for our own sake. So we love everybody for our own sake. So we love ourselves the most. That's the second point. Then the third point is, if we love ourselves the most, then if we love ourselves the most, and if we love what makes us happy, then we must be the source of happiness. So I'll say that again, if we love ourselves the most, right? And we only love what makes us happy, then we must be the source of happiness. So therefore, we are the source of happiness. We are just loving others to love ourselves, really. We are loving others because they're making us happy. And we are loving others because they're giving us that joy and not realizing that that joy is from the self. It is coming from the self. Ananda means that the joy is coming from you. You are already the source of that joy. Now, the third point here is that, so first is, if there's no happiness in the objects, it is in the subject. Now, this is very clear. This we can directly experience. The second point is, because we love ourselves most, we must be the source of happiness. That's the second point. This point we have to think about deeply. The third point now is that because we are the source of happiness, because we are infinite, because we are whole, what happens is we feel complete. We are fulfilled. That is Ananda, that Purnata, that completeness. Like, come back to the example of the screen in the movie. The screen in the movie. I am the screen upon which the entire the world of names and forms dance or play or are shown. Now, I am that one screen, and there are many names and forms. There are many things happening, right? So there could be a comedy scene happening in me. So if there's a comedy scene happening in me, would I desire laughter? If there is a very loving scene happening in me, would I desire love? If there is a very insightful scene happening, would I desire to be insightful? No, because all of this is happening in me. So therefore, that Ananda is Purnata, is fullness, means there's no desire for anything else in the world, because everything is only me. Who is there to desire, and what is there to desire? Who is there means there's no ego to desire, and there's no world to desire. Everything is fullness, Ananda. So in this way, if you just think about it, won't it be funny for the water to say, I want to be a wave, or I want that wave? That's very funny. A wave is water. Why is the water going to desire for the wave? So when we desire for something, think about this. Will the water desire for the wave? No. So will that pure consciousness ever desire or want anything else? No, there's nothing else. So in this way, we see Sat, we see Chit, and Ananda. So when we say Ananda, what is the reflection? I am this fullness, wholeness, upon which the entire world of names and forms dance. I am the source of all joy, infinite, effortless, permanent bliss, independent of anything. And I am unlimited. This is Ananda. So that existence, now pure existence, is pure consciousness, is pure bliss. That is called Sat, Chit, and Ananda. That is called Atman. That is you, Atma. That is your nature, my nature, our nature. And because these world of names and forms are what we call false or unreal or illusory, because they do not have their own independent existence, then this Atman is not one little Atman in every single being. This Atman is Brahman. Consciousness with respect to the individual is called Atman. Consciousness with respect to totality is called Brahman. This Atman is Brahman. I am Atma, Brahma. And that is who we are. That is who we truly are. And if we have realized this, then we will get this gift. What is the gift of realization? 3 key points, I'll tell you. Many, many gifts are there, but I'll share with you just 3 key points. One is realizing that we are existence, changeless existence, Sat. We become fearless. Because I cannot change. Even if this body dies, I am still changeless. I am still presence. I am still there. So that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Nainam chindanti shastrani. No weapon can cut me. No wind can dry me. No water can wet me. No fire can burn me. No death can destroy me. Even if the body dies, nothing will happen to me because I am changeless existent. Even if any wound happens, nothing will happen to me. So one who is very rooted in the Atman is absolutely fearless. Abhayam, the gift that's bestowed on them is fearlessness. When I'm truly rooted in Chit, means I am that which illumines this world of names and forms. I'm the ultimate seer and not the seen. Everything is an object of my experience. Then one is asanga, very detached, because nothing can taint them. The seen cannot affect the seer, right? The seen, just by looking at the computer and I see this rectangle, my eyes don't become rectangle, right? So whatever consciousness illumines, that object doesn't affect it. It's untainted, unaffected by anything. In its mere presence, everything functions and it remains detached, unaffected. And one who is truly rooted in Ananda, then what happens? Asato nivritti. Then they don't run after the world anymore because they understand that they are the source of joy. They are the source of bliss, source of joy. Everything comes from them and they are truly fulfilled. They may engage in the world as they need to, but not to become fulfilled, out of their own fulfillment. And because of that, they are truly givers in society, not takers. They truly know how to love. This is the gift of realizing oneself as Atman. And therefore, he says, this Atman, evam Satchidananda Swarupam Swatmanam Vichaniyat. Thus, one should know oneself to be of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. This is the only purpose of life. There's no other purpose. This is what we have come to do. And if we miss out, then Mahati Vinashti, as it's said in Kenopanishad, it's a great loss. Therefore, all seekers must put forth every single effort to realize this, be rooted in this, and live freely, happily, and share that bliss with everyone around. This is the gift of Atma. I am Atma Brahma. Okay? Let's stop here. Say the closing prayer. And if there are any questions, we can address this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.